Thanks for stopping by the Tom Auto channel. We're here with Ben from Chasing the Wild Wonder. They're expecting to be doing a trip to Texas, and we want to have a look at their Suburban. Want to join me? Let's do it and see what we find. One of the first things a couple weeks ago, as we were looking at this, we were keeping an eye on a rear seal here. As we can see that the brake dust and road grime has accumulated here on the right rear. It probably has a leaky axle seal. If we look at the other side, it's nice and dry. But once we drain the drain the differential, we're going to go ahead and do both seals while we're there. We'll be draining the pumpkin here. We'll do that and let it drain overnight. Got some corrosion, so we're gonna have to fight a couple of these. All right, guys. Well, we've got most of the bolts off the top. We always leave one in there. We're just gonna let it drip overnight. By leaving the one up there, the pan won't come out, the fluid won't drench it. We're already getting drenched by all the snow that's here. Let's get the other ones pulled out and get this thing draining. Okay, we left a couple bolts in there. All our oil goes into the drain pan and not on the floor. We're gonna be removing these calipers and the bracket. What we wanna do is, we got the bar and we're gonna move, as you can see the caliper, we're pushing the piston back in. This is gonna give us clearance so that we can take the whole caliper assembly off, and we'll just be hanging it up here, get the rotor off, and we'll do the same through the other side and get to these seals. Well, guys, we already come into a problem other than the seals. We did have with the caliper mount, the slide pin here, the bolt will not come out of here even though it turns, so it's probably stripped in there. So it's early enough in the day, we'll get a set of calipers up here and just add that to the job. Okay. And of course, we're metal to metal, so it looks like we'll be doing some do an emergency brake also, or caliper. You know why we're here? Let's just do rotors, calipers, pads, do it right, spend more money. I like spending, that's what I call OPM, other people's money. All right, guys, we're getting ready to pull the axle, get those seals done. First of all, we had to do was remove our cross bolt that holds in this pin that holds in the spider gears. And once we got that done, I had Ben push in on the axles, and we were able to remove the C-clips on both sides. Now the axles are ready to come out. Let me show you. Again, I got this out. Surface looks good. The sealing surface, no axles needed. So and one of the things we'll need to do, even though I have seals over there, as you well know, they may be wrong. So we're going to check that out now. Okay, guys, I got the seals right here. Let's go see if they're right. Now's the time to find out in case we have to order something. As we get a good glance of that. Yeah, looks like the right seal on that seal. Let's go to the other side and find out. Yeah, looks good. We're gonna do, get that chisel in there. We're gonna start releasing the outer shoulder of that seal. That's all there is to it. This is our bearing here. Looking at our axle, being the inner race, there was no problems there, so We'll just get this cleaned up. As you can see on this seal here, we got a garter spring right here. Now, if I put that in dry and start pounding, that seal could come off, and we don't want that to happen. It will just cause another leak. So what we do, we've got some trans gel from our transmission bench. It's an assembly lube. What we want to do is pack the backside here where that spring can't really go anywhere. Don't be afraid to use a lot. We're also going to use it to put that seal in. What that gel is going to do, it's going to hold that spring there while we tap it in, and it will mix with the fluid. Let's have a look. Get her started. I have a big driver that I use from the transmission side of things. Just gonna go here and listen to the sound when you know it's all the way in. There it is, all the way. Now I'll take that lube, I'll lube the bearing, lube the seal, and we're ready for our axle. You probably saw the axles, how they're all prepped, the new surfaces on them. Here we use a little bit of Scotch-Brite, run our fingernails over that, and these things are ready to go. A lot of times we'll find these axles that are worn out, we need to get new ones. So these are in good shape, we're gonna put her together. Now before I do that, let me throw a little luber plate on that bearing. We use 105. And what we're gonna do is just, we don't want a dry startup. Got to find the spider gear. There we go. She's in. I'll have Ben push in on there. I'll put the C-clip in, and we'll continue with the brakes. Okay, see if that'll needs to go a little bit further. If you can tap on it, or there it goes. Okay, then pull it back. There you go. Look. A little tap will do you. You've got this hole right here on the end of the pin that goes through the spider gears. We're going to lock it in with this cross pin that's threaded to lock everything in place. I like to have my pin already in the hole here. So as I continue to hold it there, and now as I tap it, just like that. Now I'll thread it in there, throw a little bit of Loctite on it. We're ready to go. Okay guys, we're prepping the new rotors. We're getting all the Cosmoline off so that when the new pads go on, they'll seat. You can see the nice crosshatch that done on these rotors. We get these from, I think they're CarQuest, wherever, Ray Bestis, from our Good Parts guys up there in Ketchum, Fred and Kevin at River Run Auto Parts. So just great parts. We use them on all our F-250s and never have a problem. So we're going to use them on the Suburban. So what we're going to do now is measure our rotor using this caliper gauge, or drum gauge, because we're going to need to adjust our e-brake. So now that we got the diameter of the drum within a rotor, let's go see what it looks like on these parking brake shoes. I want 20 thousandths gap here, how I set them. I don't think we're going to catch it. So we'll get that figured out, but this is how you do it. We'll put a feeler gauge here. I'll adjust our adjuster that's right up here so that this thing fits kind of tight, and that'll be our adjustments for both sides. Let's go ahead and get that rotor on. Got her in. What I like to do, put a couple bolts on. Get that rotor, keep it square, because we got the caliper to put on now. Don't have to be tight. Just hold that rotor. You can hear it. We like to hear that. It's free, just barely touching. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and just put in our rebuilt calipers. We'll go ahead and on this Suburban, one mounts to the front, the other is from the rear. Now what I like to do on these bolts is I like to put a little anti-seize on here. We can see the rust that was starting to develop. So we put a little anti-seize, get everything cleaned up. I'll get my bolt started and then pull the caliper until I feel it engage, which we just did. Now if you notice me taking this apart, I did have to take the caliper off so that I could get to those bolts. I am only mounting the bracket as one piece right now. Then I know these bolts will come out, and what I'll do is I'll be able to turn this up, I'll be able to torque my bolts, and then I'll be able to load my caliper with the new pads and the hardware that it comes with, and we'll bring it all back down, we'll tie in our line, and this side will be done. Okay, let's put our new hardware in. One thing you want to do is make sure you don't hear this noise. There we go, snaps it right in. Here's the problem we had. This bolt, of course you saw on the old one, this bolt wouldn't come out of the pin, but we were able to get the one out and slide it out. I just took this out to make sure it was greased because we want these slides not to seize up. Yeah, with the sand that they're using up here in Idaho now, mixed with the little, seems like salt calcium, man, we see a lot of corrosion that we've never seen before, and that's just for the snow melt. So just want to make sure everything's lubed. When I took this thing apart, I went ahead and put my pads. I always go like this, inside, outside. You can identify that because here's where the pistons contact. Now the reason why I do that, some of our pads will come with some wear indicators. So we want to keep them oriented side to side. So what I'm going to do, I'll get that pad, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to find something that has that wear indicator here on top. Well, we found it. So we'll use that pad on the inner. We'll do the same with the outer. We look and there it is. There's our other pin. So these two will get prepped real quick. I like to use the Seal Glide for all my lubricants on all my brake stuff. It doesn't melt, doesn't freeze, keeps everything nice and lubed throughout the life of the brake, as long as they're supposed to last. We don't have a problem with seizing up and burning up rotors and the whole brake system. So here we go. We don't want to get any greases on our material. It just makes it harder for them to seat. You may have a problem with noises, grabbing, so keep it clean. Just like that on one of them. Okay, you may not be able to see this one, but once it's in, we also take a little of this Seal Glide. Anytime they break, wherever they'll touch, this is just habit for us. Any excess, you can just put it all over. Actually, some of the manufacturers offer this as a 30, 50, 60,000 miles is to pull your brake system apart and re-lube all these slides. So it's just a maintenance thing anymore. So let's get it back in. I'm just gonna pull the caliper up. It's gonna slide real easy. Now I want to show you something here. As you see, it kind of stops. Well, that's because we have another retainer here that's going to hold those pads firm. So once you get it in there, and there you go. All right, guys, we got the line hooked up. It's torqued down. We got the copper washers, and what we do, we opened up the bleeder up here on top. And that's how you know you got the caliper on right, is that the bleeder is on top here. And what we do is we crack it open, and we want the fluid, it'll fill up that caliper. This is the highest spot, so all the air is going to raise to the top, and at the same time we'd like to tap on there. Sometimes air will get stuck on the side of the walls of the bore of the caliper. We want all that air out, so we tap on it. We'll let it go a couple more drips like that, and we'll just close her off. All right, guys, we're on the finishing touches on the 04 Suburban with the axle seal leaks that turned into the brake job also. We've got our cover all clean, ready to go on. What we want to do, we'll be using just a silicone. But before you cover it up, there's one tip that I want you to understand here. We didn't find anything wrong with the axles, the bearings, or the sealing surfaces. So we have to look at everything, and one thing we don't want to forget, and that is the vent that's on that differential. If it's plugged in any way, we will have a leak again. So we want to show you where that's located. Okay guys, on this Suburban, we've got this little hose right here that's connected to a nipple on the upper side of the differential. What we do, we just take our air and make sure it's not plugged. And we can hear it, and it's not. So what we can do, we'll just put our hose back on the nipple, and now we're ready to put the cover on and get this part of the job done. A pizza pie, a holla. Anyway guys, we get our bead of silicone, and something I've done for years, I don't know why, I guess I'd like to make a mess, but I like to tack it onto the part like we're doing evenly. I'll let that sit, let it tack up a little bit. And what it does, if there's any pits in the cover, we pushed it in there. Well, we got our torque wrench out. Click, clack. Well guys, what started out as a rear axle seal leak turned into a full-on rear brake job. We got our new rotors, our new calipers. We had a pin that was seized up. The bolt wouldn't come out, so we wound up just putting all remanufactured new pads, rotors, calipers, let it gravity bleed, and we're on to our next leak, and that's the transfer case. It's a 246. It's got a very unique leak, and we'll be pulling that out today, splitting the case halves, and we want to show you what we found and how we're going to fix it. Stay tuned for the next video, and go ahead down below and go ahead and subscribe, ring that bell, and make a comment. All comments are welcome, and we want you to stick around for that next video on the transfer case. Have a great weekend.